Hi, everyone. Kate Byers, Corporate Women Unleashed, coming to you today to talk about how to avoid or reduce burnout by changing your thinking. And if you are a successful professional, your thinking very often can fall into this trap of all or nothing. It's my way or the highway. And I think none of us want to admit that, but certainly that black and white, that all or nothing thinking is really bred into us. It's a very competitive way of thinking. So if you're successful, it's worked well for you, right? But we can be competitive and we can be successful without having such black and white thinking. And even if you're listening to this broadcast and you're thinking, this doesn't apply to me, I'm a very open-minded thinker, just take a listen for a second, because believe me, I thought that as well. So where all or nothing thinking comes from is really our culture, right? And especially in a lot of first world cultures where we don't look at success as being well-being, a well-lived life. We look at success in reaching a goal. So if you are an A student, you're a successful student. If you are on the honors roll, you're successful. If you are, graduating with honors, if you have multiple degrees, it's always this obtaining of a goal, which is very singularly focused. And because of that, we have this all or nothing thinking. Either I'm going to get to this goal or I'm going to be a failure. I'm a winner if I, get to this goal, or I'm a loser. This is all or nothing thinking. And what we don't do, which is why we're all suffering in our success, is really create this idea that it's the experience of getting to the goal that is the win. It's the experience and how you experience and create the approach to the goal that really matters. And we get so focused. It's such a myopic way of really existing and growing up when you only think about the goal. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, but what does that mean? I'm going to be a slacker, or I'd never get to the goal if I'm not focused. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have focus. I'm not saying that the goal shouldn't be a priority. What I'm saying is that all or nothing thinking, when it's not a choice, is a gilded cage. And there's a big difference in that. When you choose to focus on something and you're saying, I am now going to go focus on practicing my violin for 5 hours a day, and it's something I love, and it's not creating suffering in my life. It is creating maybe some compromises that I'm comfortable with having, but it's not making me suffer or sacrifice. Then go practice your violin for 5 hours a day, right? If you are choosing to work on the weekend or go in the office or accept a project that you know is going to have you working late, and that is not causing suffering in your life, it's a compromise that you're willing to make. That's not all or nothing thinking. That is a choice. However, our wiring very often is, I have to do this, then I can do that. Or I'd like to have this, but I can't because of that. And it's really amazing to me how many people we work with and how many people we talk to who have this all or nothing thinking. A great example would be, I can't take a vacation until this project is finished. I can't leave my desk until my team has left for the night. And so it's this, I have to do this because I can't do it any other way. Instead of, or I think a really easy one for all of us is health, right? I can't work out until COVID's over. I don't have a gym. There's no way to work out. I've got kids under my feet. Work's on all the time. I'm always on. I'll just put my health on the shelf. All or nothing thinking, right? And what that does is it creates for us this biological and this psychological response of suffering, lack of fulfillment, constant delayed gratification. And it just diminishes our ability to feel like we're thriving in our life, but it also diminishes our ability to show up in our life as really successful. And I don't mean just successful at work. I mean successful in our relationships, successful in how we're feeling in our mental and emotional and physical state, successful as a member of our societies and our communities. We're depleting ourselves because it has to be this way. I was talking with a woman early in the week who was looking for a solution to a really serious balance issue in her life. And it's also costing her it's creating a glass ceiling in her career. So she's in a top tier role, but she's not able to go further because she can't break out of these habits that she has and how she approaches her work, because it's all or nothing. I have to be this way or else I won't be successful. Okay. And as we were talking, I said, well, look, I'm suggesting that we can help you, and here's how. And I described what we do. And I don't want to work that way. And I'm like, okay, well, why not? This is what gets the result. The modalities we use, we have about 5 or 6 modalities that we use to get our clients to a result. I don't want that. I want an executive coach who will be basically available to me when I say I want them available to me. And I'm like, okay, totally understand that's what you want, but that's all or nothing thinking. Unless it's my way, unless it's in my comfort zone, I'm not willing to stretch and try something else, even though the result I'm missing is available to me in this new way. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's comfort zone. We feel very safe in these ways of belief, these beliefs and these ways of thinking, because we're trying to control something instead of going, wait a minute, the world is my oyster and I can navigate my career. I can navigate this world in a variety of ways, which includes trying something new that may not be what I'm comfortable with, but could certainly get me the result I'm looking for, or being healthy, even though we're in this COVID environment and not able to work out and take care of ourselves in the way we normally are, or having this huge audacious career and being uber healthy, taking care of my body inside and outside in my spirit, and being available to my family. That's living in the and. There's no either or. It's not, I better do this or I better do this. I used to do this a lot to my family, right? Like, I have to work, so you're going to have to understand. Mom's got to earn the bread or bake the bread, so you're going to have to be patient. And it was always on them. Like, they were the ones that were having to adapt to me. All or nothing thinking, Kate's way or the highway. And this is very common. I'm kind of joking and playing with myself as the person here, but this is very, very common. And it's coming again. It's certainly not something to be proud of, but it's something that we've just adapted from our culture. And someone who is driven and hyper successful is going to fall into that trap more often than not. We have these very, very tight controls that we've put into place. And this is our formula for how we have a successful life. And it is an absolute prison. It's an absolute prison, because unless it's your way, unless you get to the goal, and it's all or nothing, and I have to put everything behind me and I can't do anything else, and it's got to be my way, or it's got to be this certain way, you're living in an absolute trap, right? We all are. And the reason I finally discovered this and then began this journey to study human behavior when it applies to habits in the workplace and what prevents us from living a life of well-being was that I found myself finally hitting that wall and going, I have tried to do it my way. I have tried everything I totally know how. I have, massively changed my life, and I keep coming back to the same place. Maybe I need to change the way I'm thinking. And so what I'm suggesting is that in really challenging times like we're in right now, obviously this is hyper challenging. Challenging in an extremely unexpected way, but you come up against these things in your career, right? Like, we've all potentially worked for companies that have gone through some massive upheaval, reorgs, acquiring new companies, and it changes the culture of the company. And the job that you loved is all of a sudden very different because you're in a new culture. So what do? What most people do is just walk away and they quit. And here you have this phenomenal impact in your career. And I'm not saying that there aren't some jobs that we obviously need to walk away from, but very often we use the same habits and behaviors that we've been using for years because it's just a comfort zone. And we're not able to step back and say, do I really need to change companies, or can I thrive in this culture? Not always, but a lot of times you can. It's just different. But we don't feel like we have any control of that because maybe we don't have the language or the communication or the boundaries, and we're not sure how to do that. That's the same thing. Like, when we're trying to hold on to things really tightly because it's got to be all or nothing, that's the prison. And I always say corporations do not make gilded cages. We do. And what I mean by that is we do have a lot of ownership and control over our well-being in life. And people say, yeah, but how do you do it? Well, the very first thing you have to do is make a decision that you're willing to think differently. I have to promise you, because I don't know if there's any other gift I could ever give someone. I think what's wonderful about all the clients we work with is they're really ready and willing to think differently. From everything from just jumping in, getting down to business, rolling up their sleeves, trying something new, expanding how they behave and think and act, to just see, what does that feel like? What does it feel like to create success from a place of fulfillment instead of depletion? What does it feel like to create success in a new way that may be alternate to the habits, the behaviors, the routines that you're used to? Wow. Now that's freedom, right? And when you feel like, wait a minute, I am now in the driver's seat. It's not all or nothing thinking, it's and. I can be someone who's hyper successful. I can have impact and leave a footprint in this career, this thing I do with my life. And I can be an amazing father, mother, wife, lover. And I can be an incredible, parent, child, whatever other roles. And I can be, someone who is multidimensional, who has other hobbies or community and things that I engage in outside of just these other responsibilities. That's living in the and that is an extraordinary amount of freedom, and it's extraordinarily fulfilling. And yes, life can be chaotic around us. Life can pull the rug out from under our feet. But when you're living in the and not this all or nothing, you can handle it, right? Because you're coming from a place of fulfillment. You're coming from a place of understanding exactly that you can have more than one thing at a time. And you can still be focused, and you can still say, instead of having 20 things on my plate, I want 5. You can certainly narrow it down. Nobody's saying you have to run around like a chicken with your head cut off and have a million different priorities on your plate. Being hyper-focused is important, but when it comes at a cost where it's taking a toll in the rest of your life, that all or nothing thinking, it's not serving you. So I invite you today to really look at how you're moving forward in your life, in your decisions, in your career, and saying, is this all or nothing thinking, or am I open to the possibility of a new way? Because believe it or not, there's a lot of ways to create success, and those are available to you. They're not just available to the 1% of the people who walk this earth with tons of freedom. They're available to all of us. And it starts with being willing to think differently than all or nothing, your way or the highway, black or white. Does that make sense? And I will also say that it will feel different for a while, because anytime we break a habit, it takes time. And what a lot of us high achievers are looking for is, oh, here's a problem. Let me fix it. Let me solve that gap. I get it. I'm wired that way too. But sometimes it's going to take some movement within dialing in to come into a new place of habit and behavior that won't get you that great rush of feeling of, oh, I've solved it right now. It might feel uncomfortable. Changing habits always are. Changing your thinking is always going to be uncomfortable in the beginning. But when you do and you live in the and, life is super sweet. Life is super sweet. And burnout be gone. There is no more burnout, because you're clear that you can navigate any situation, anytime, and still be hyper fulfilled the whole way through. That is well-being, a life well lived. Again, thanks so much for listening today. If this broadcast has resonated with you, I suggest and ask if you will please send it on to someone else who you think could use it. Maybe it's someone who's just struggling right now. They're frayed around the edges, or they're having a tough time, and this could be uplifting, crack open a new idea for them, a new doorway. Please share it on with your network and see if someone else will find this of benefit. And I thank you very much for listening. If you have enjoyed what I've been talking about today, I will put a link below this broadcast in the comments that invites you to watch some other free trainings, some other free ideas and strategies that might be helpful to you. And I will look forward to talking to you on the next broadcast. Take care.